All right, guys, happy Thursday. I already see some of you in the chat going, when is the next Becoming Brigitte episode dropping tomorrow? Don't worry, it just takes a ton of research. So sometimes we just have to take a day break to make sure that we are getting everything correct. Also, those of us who are obsessed with the Baldoni case, we have a few updates for you today. I told you guys in the last episode about this case that more lawsuits were coming. Well, one of them just dropped against Blake Lively, and it is also for defamation. We're going to talk about that, but Taylor Swift's team is now coming out swinging, and that is super interesting. An article just dropped about an hour ago in TMZ against Blake Lively in the press. Taylor Swift is alleging that Blake Lively is lying, but is Taylor telling the truth, or is this just a strategy to save her own skin? I don't know, guys. And don't worry, for those of you who have been hitting me up asking if I'm going to give my thoughts on America allegedly taking over Gaza, of course I am. Of course I am going to give my thoughts on that. So we have a lot coming up today. Let's get right into it. Okay, first and foremost, I do not mean to brag, but I have never been more proud to see a headline about myself ever, plausibly in the media. I think I got to hang it up. I think I'm going to get it framed. This is coming from In Touch Weekly. It says, Candace Owens says Ryan Reynolds should be deported to Canada amid Blake Lively lawsuit. Yes, I did say that. Go me, go me. Well, guess what? Blake Lively's team is working overtime. I told you how it works in the background. You got all these PR teams, and they're just trying to sway public opinion. And Blake Lively's PR team wants us to know that everything that's happening right now, it's hurting Blake's feelings. And I don't know if you guys have paused to consider that Blake's feelings might be getting hurt in all of this. Well, if it isn't the consequences of my own actions. Check out this headline in Daily Mail. Blake Lively sources say Justin Baldoni lawsuit is causing her and Ryan Reynolds severe anguish. They are anguished by the things that they did being found out by the public. In that article, we're told that Blake Lively is, quote unquote, emotionally zapped by her spate of lawsuits with Justin Baldoni, but she remains confident nonetheless that she will ultimately prevail, okay? And the legal battles have apparently, quote, taken a deep emotional toll on the actress, as well as her husband, Ryan Reynolds, who has been named in one of the suits. So I wanted to tell you guys that. I wanted to tell you also that I feel nothing. I literally feel nothing. So much nothingness. I've never felt more nothingness than when I read that article. You know, someone asked me recently why this particular case has seized the world. And I really think that it was just a perfect act of evil that was almost executed in broad daylight, almost like a psychological operation, right? The press was complicit. They almost got it done. This guy would have done, canceled nothing. And were it not for Steve Sarowitz, the billionaire, who just said, okay, let's go to war. Just think about the other side of that. Like, what would have happened to Justin Baldoni? He would have been canceled. And the more that I watch and the more that I read, the more infuriated I become, because it seems like it's never ending. I can't get to a bottom of their bullying. Every time I think I've gotten every instance of their public bullying, we discover more. Like, we were able to get our hands on the 2 more Deadpool clips, actually, in which he was mocking Justin Baldoni. Here's one of them.
She never said that.
No, but I bet she thought it.
You are so mean. My brain could taste your fingers, and they tasted like hate. And where in God's name is the intimacy coordinator?
You're so lost, Mr. Wilson.
Again, and here is one of the cut scenes that they said, okay, this one's not going to make it into the movie, but here it is.
I'd be fighting alongside them, but my calling is to one day host a podcast that monetizes the women's movement.
Calling is to one day host a podcast that monetizes the women's movement. So in the context of all this, I feel myself being strangely angry at Justin for being so nice. Seriously, I was going back and watching his interviews because now that we have this whole timeline and we know what was going on in the background, it just provides new context to Justin Baldoni on the red carpet premiere for It Ends With Us, okay? So we're going to watch him give an interview to Extra. And I want you to keep in mind everything that we now know was happening leading up to this moment, okay? That he was mocked in the credits of his own movie, that he was mocked mercilessly, endlessly in Deadpool and Wolverine by A-list actors getting involved there. We know that Justin's colleagues and fellow actors on the film were then all invited to the premiere of Deadpool and Wolverine. So they watched him being mocked. And then we know that at the after party, Ryan accuses him, according to the lawsuit, of like being a rapist when he finds some WME exec or whatever it is that he called him. And we know that throughout all of the promotional events for the film, he was intentionally cut out. We could show you so many clips of Blake every time they ask a question to Brandon Sklenar, who she decided to run around with, and do all of these interviews with. She essentially just cuts him off and is like, well, talk more about you, Brandon. Talk more about Atlas. Like, talk more about your character. Like, she didn't even want people thinking about Justin Baldoni at all. Not at all. She just kind of wanted to basically cut him out of his own movie. Keep in context also that at this premiere event, on the very same day, Ryan Reynolds moved to release his promo for It Ends With Us, which featured his mother, Hugh Jackman, Brandon Sklenar, all mocking him in a skit. So the clip that you are about to watch right now is Justin Baldoni having arrived extremely early, because one of the extra people came out and said, you know what, it was weird because usually at these events, the actors of the film are the last to arrive on the red carpet. And we did notice that it was weird that he was like first to arrive very early, hours before we were expecting him. So this is Justin arriving hours early with his family after having been informed just days earlier that he and his family were actually going to head into the basement with the drinks to watch this movie. Otherwise, Blake and Ryan were going to stage a boycott. So all that is happening, and now let's watch him retrospectively in an interview. Take a listen.
Congratulations, we do. Look, first of all, the brooch, everything is on point.
I can't claim any of it. I was dressed by wonderful women.
Oh my God, and you look amazing. I'm gonna bring you a little closer because I'm starting to get snagged.
Okay.
You have made it happen. I mean, this was no easy feat. It is a beloved book from the beginning till right now at the end. How does it feel to take that all in?
I'm a little speechless. It feels very surreal. I probably should have gathered myself before I stepped on the carpet and took all of this in. I'm just grateful. I'm grateful to Colleen for trusting me, for writing such a beautiful book. I'm grateful to her mother for allowing it to happen, because really this was in honor of her mom. And I'm grateful to Blake for just being a powerhouse of a performer and an amazing collaborator, and just all the people, the crew. I my wife. None of this would have happened without my wife, who did that invisible work of being with the children while I was able to make this movie that doesn't get celebrated nearly enough. And I don't know, I'm just kind of speechless, and I'm just excited for it to be released in the world.
Yeah, I mean, it takes a village, like you said. This is a family affair for you as well. Did I see your dad as well here?
My dad and my mom are here, my aunt, my uncle, who never shows up to anything. He's never even been to New York, and my cousin who just lost her husband, and this is a family affair, and my best friends are here, and I think all of us it just took a village to make this film, and I feel loved and supported and grateful.
It's unbelievably infuriating and frustrating, and also in a weird way you respect it. It's who I want to be. I want to be this person who in moments of extreme cruelty finds gratefulness, finds elements of gratefulness, but I am not capable of being that way in the third trimester of pregnancy, right? So I'm just enraged on his behalf, and I can't believe it. And there is a strength in that. People are right to say there is a strength in restraint. There is a power in being grateful in these moments. And so I credit him, but I'm also we're angry, and there is something about this case. And I think there is an element of this that makes a lot of people feel unsafe, right? I think that's the real reason when speaking about that. There's to envision this happening, being allowed to happen in society, and knowing that this sort of collusion can happen behind the scenes. And yet we would have been given a version of events which would have taken down the victim rather than the aggressor. It doesn't make us trust anybody, right? We feel like we can't trust, we are not safe with the version of events that are being presented to us about anybody in Hollywood. And I think that really gets at us, okay? So I want to give you some updates. Taylor Swift is now fighting back hard, okay? Her team is not pulling any punches. Over the last 12 hours, they have dropped a few articles. I told you all of this, and we are recognizing this. It's just a bunch of PR games. And there is an article that just got dropped in TMZ about an hour and a half ago, and they're making it clear that she wants nothing to do with this case. And not only does she want nothing to do with this case, she's calling out Blake Lively for lying, okay? So I'm going to read direct from this article. It says, a well-connected source close to Taylor tells TMZ, Taylor came to Blake's apartment at the time that Blake told her to, not knowing anyone else would be there. In other words, Taylor had no idea there was a meeting going on with Justin. The source goes on to say that Justin was about to leave after the 2-hour meeting as Taylor walked in, and she was introduced to him for the first and only time. We are told that all Taylor said to Justin was how excited she was to see the movie because he was her friend's boss. Our source says Taylor believes Blake timed her meeting with Justin so Taylor would arrive before he left, and is baffled by Blake later characterizing her as her quote-unquote dragon. The source adds, it's weird to say that about a friend, and there's more. The source says Taylor is also learning that Blake has been inappropriately leveraging her name for a long time, like telling a young actress that Taylor cast her, which simply did not happen. Oh, wait a second. What do you mean it didn't happen? Okay, a lot to say about this. Obviously, what she's referencing here is what we were told on the red carpet from Isabella Ferreira herself, who kind of turned into Blake Lively's pet. At least that's what Justin is alleging, that basically Blake poisoned her against him and spoiled her. And maybe the point of entry was, I want you to know that my very powerful friend Taylor Swift handpicked you. Okay? And Lily believed it, which is why she said this on the red carpet.
And did I hear that Taylor may have had some influence in getting
Yes, she did. Yeah, I know. I don't even know if I'm meant to be saying it, but I'm saying it. Yeah, she was a helpful part of the process of the audition, which I found out later after I got it, and that rocked my world. Yeah. I have no words.
Okay, so it is interesting that she says she was a helpful part of the process, which I found out later on, which means Taylor Swift was clearly not in the room, perhaps, when she was auditioning. So there could be some truth there. And we have seen that obviously in Ryan Reynolds' text messages. Like I said, in his first entry text to Justin Baldoni, they black out a name that very much could be Taylor Swift, which means that as soon as he opened the conversation, Ryan Reynolds with Justin Baldoni, in an introductory conversation, he wanted him to know Taylor Swift is our friend. Now, we are hearing that when he went to WME, that was also a part of it, like Taylor Swift is a godmother to our children. So is it possible that they use her name that when she's not there and she's not aware? Sure. But let me tell you why I think Taylor Swift is lying. Here's an element where I believe she's just flat out caught lying, okay? So maybe she had nothing to do with Isabella Ferreira's casting, but we do know that her song was featured, and that at one point to feature her song, she got somebody fired. That is the allegation that is made, and she's curiously not responding to that she didn't like Brian Tyler. I think they worked together on the Lorax, literally like the Lorax movie at some point. Maybe it was something else, but she got someone fired from the film. I'd like to hear her respond to that. And we do also know that she's not being truthful about what happened that night at the Penthouse. She's saying it was like, hi, bye, love the film, you're her boss. Not true. Here is the verbiage from Justin Baldoni's lawsuit. And I'll tell you why we can instantly discern that he's telling the truth. It's basically starting with Baldoni realizing that Blake was upset by him not being overly excited about her changes. Seemingly stung by Baldoni's exceedingly mild resistance, Lively did not respond and went silent for multiple days. Later, she confirmed in a text message below that Baldoni's response of course, didn't feel great for me or another mega celebrity friend and Ryan Reynolds to have my passion praised instead of my specific contribution. Lively was referring to an earlier meeting where Lively summoned Baldoni to her New York penthouse, where Baldoni was greeted by Ryan Reynolds, okay, who launched into enthusiastic praise for Lively's version of the scene. Okay, that checks out. Hours later, as the meeting was ending, him and Taylor Swift are agreeing here, a famous and famously close friend of Reynolds and Lively walked into the room and similarly began praising Lively's script. Baldoni then understood that it meant that he had to comply with Lively's direction for the script. Similarly began praising Lively's script. So she didn't go in and say, hi, bye, nice to meet you. She praised her script. And the follow-up text from that meeting proved that, because he basically says, these are his texts to Blake, hey, like, I didn't need, I would have felt that way without Ryan and Taylor talking to her about her edits. You really are a talent across the board, really excited and grateful to do this together. And that leads to the dragging tweet where, so he's saying, like, whatever just happened, I didn't need that to happen. I thought that you were fine already. And if Taylor had said absolutely nothing to him, then she would have responded and said, what are you talking about? She was just coming into the house. Like, that wasn't to peer pressure you. Instead, she replies and says, oh, I got a few dragons. So I think Taylor's lying about that. So the real question is, why is Taylor Swift lying about that little exchange? And the answer is very simple. She does not want to get deposed, okay? A deposition, legal deposition, is not a song. It is not an album. You don't get to drop Taylor's version of events. You are under oath and you will be compelled to tell the truth. And Taylor cannot then call in a marketing guru to spin things to make her look innocent if she was, in fact, more involved in this project. And again, I believe she was. Right? I believe she had more to do with the screening. I think her mindset then, maybe she was looking for something to do after the breakup with Joe Alwyn. But I think right now what's happening behind the scenes is she is freaking out because Brian Friedman went on the TMZ podcast on yesterday. And when asked about whether or not they would subpoena Taylor, he basically implied nothing's off the table. And I want to be clear, that has the potential to humiliate Taylor. Okay, she has carefully woven her brand as a nice girl, as a victim, as somebody who is never involved in any plotting or scheming. If they suddenly say, put her on the stand, put her under oath, and we're going to subpoena her messages, this could present a version of Taylor that the public does not know about, right? And so she seems to be hitting hard. That's not the only article that her marketing team had dropped. They also launched another attack against Blake Lively in the Daily Mail, also in TMZ again, saying that she had been advising Blake for years to tone it down, just to tone down your tude, right? And in the article, it says that Taylor Swift admires that Blake Lively is this ballsy chick who speaks her mind, that she swears like a trooper and refuses to be controlled by anyone. And that's part of the reason that they bonded and became so close 10 years ago. And she saw Taylor to be like this doppelganger of her. But the difference is that Taylor is more subtle. This is literally a direct quote. The main difference between them is that Taylor is more subtle. Blake has always gone full throttle about everything. That's a weird quote. You know why that's a weird quote? Because basically what they're saying is Taylor Swift more subtly via lyrics and stuff will kind of take somebody down and get her fans to believe in a certain narrative. It's subtle, but when Blake does it, it goes full bore. Does that imply that Taylor Swift maybe has not been a perfect victim in every situation since 1989? I don't know. Interested to hear what her fans think, because for years I have asked myself that question. Okay, I have openly said, there's a pattern here that has been established. You know, you had me at the first relationship, second relationship, third relationship. You lost me, you know, maybe on the third album of me accepting this narrative that people are always doing something wrong to you. And there have been people that have tried to speak out, by the way. And I'm genuinely interested to hear Taylor Swift's fans on this. But like Calvin Harris, you know, the mass unfollowing of Joe Alwyn that took place. Katy Perry, who early on said that she was, what was it? The wolf in sheep's clothing. John Mayer, who said that what she said was not correct or fair, and it led to him being attacked. And I mean, these are the ones that are just coming off of the top of my head. And so do we think that there is a pattern there? Or is this really a circumstance where Blake has taken advantage of her brand? My instinct is that it could be both. And I do also want to say this. Smartest move that Brian Friedman could make, Brian Friedman's like my spirit animal right now, is to put her on the stand. And that's partially because it's the last thing that Blake and Ryan want, right? The last thing that they want is to have their major A-list fan that they have been using to move up in Hollywood, whose name they have been using to move up in Hollywood and to threaten people behind the scenes, suddenly put on the stand and exposed. It would be such a inglorious end to their friendship, and that it would sting them. So that's what I'm going to say about that. I do want to tell you about the second lawsuit that has dropped. But first, I want to remind you guys about PreBorn, because there is some great news for people who are pro-life. The abortion pill reversal treatment, which provides women a second opportunity to choose, is bringing babies back to life. When you join forces with PreBorn Ministries, you empower women to reverse the curse. What you might not be aware of is, even though Roe v. Wade was overturned and abortion has been greatly restricted in many states, the abortion pill has superseded surgical abortions, accounting now for over 60% of all abortions. PreBorn's network of clinics are on standby for women in their darkest hour. They meet them with God's love and free services to help them choose life through ultrasounds and the abortion pill reversal protocol. PreBorn has rescued over 300,000 babies' lives. So you can start this new year right by supporting life and by donating to PreBorn today. One ultrasound is just $28, and $140 will help rescue 5 babies. So to donate, you just dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby. That's pound 250 baby, or you can donate securely by just going to preborn.com/Candace. Again, that's preborn.com/Candace. Okay, so I told you that these lawsuits are not going to stop. First one has now dropped. Blake Lively, she's being sued again. Like I told you, a lot of it involves the PR world. And so I'll just first read this headline. You have The Hollywood Reporter saying Blake Lively being sued for defamation by crisis PR firm in It Ends With Us feud. The lawsuit that has been dropped actually confirms what I told you earlier, that I had it on perfect authority, that Blake's original filing, which was with the Californian Civil Rights Department, that complaint was supposed to be the only filing. It was the ultimate bad PR response to what they wrongly assumed was a PR attack that was happening against Blake, being orchestrated by Justin Baldoni. And like, I will show you this map again of all the PR firms. I think Leslie Sloan has been terrible. I mean, I don't know them from a hole in the wall, but I'm telling you, if I had this PR firm, I am dropping them. They have gotten it wrong every step of the way. And Jones Work PR got involved in this. Petty drama. They all made a very bad decision to push this, assuming that no, it couldn't all be happening. There must be a hand, a magic hand behind this. Everybody loves us. Everybody loves Blake and her hair products. And then they find out that actually it's looking like no one coordinated it. And maybe people like me and the internet have our own thoughts. Okay. So I want to explain to you just the CRD complaint, why that strategy, what the strategy was supposed to be, okay? The intention when you just want to file a complaint and not file a court case is that you can be a little loose on the details, okay? You can stretch the truth, fabricate, because there's no one that's going to necessarily fact check anything in a way that would come back and be detrimental to you, okay? In case you don't know exactly what it means, because a lot of people are like, what is a civil rights complaint? I don't even know really much about this. It essentially means that you're going down to the civil rights department and you say, my civil rights have been violated at my job because I believe that I have been subjected to discrimination or harassment or retaliation. So you submit a filing and then you wait. And if the office takes a look at your case and they decide, okay, we're going to green stamp this, they then launch an investigation and they reach out to respondents, so people that you have named in this case. And then they will typically demand that the parties involved meet to mediate and try to resolve things before escalating matters if they truly believe that your civil rights have been violated. That is what Blake wanted. She wanted to be able to file that, take it to the New York Times, get them to take down Justin Baldoni, and who knows, like it would have maybe been like, okay, we're going to resolve this in the background now. So when filing this complaint, she did embellish a bit, and she included as a defendant, this is very important, she included as a defendant a man named Jed Wallace, okay? So I'm showing you this CRD filing, and you can see it says Jed Wallace and his firm, which is Street Relations Incorporated. He is the owner of a crisis firm down in Texas, and that is Street Relations Incorporated. And so they listed him as an actual defendant, meaning he is guilty of these things which we allege that are violating my civil rights. Well, I'm going to just read for you what she actually said about him in the CRD complaint as well, because it's relevant to why he is suing her. She wrote, the retaliation campaign relied on more than just publicists and crisis managers. They also retained subcontractors, including a Texas-based contractor named Jed Wallace, who weaponized a digital army around the country from New York to LA to create, seed, and promote content that appeared to be authentic on social media platforms and internet chat forums. The Baldoni Wayfarer team would then feed pieces of this manufactured content to unwitting reporters, making the content go viral in order to influence public opinion and thereby cause an organic pile-on. So she's saying, this is the guy. Like, this is the guy. He was the person they used and got the internet to turn against me, which that would be a big thing. She could show a smear campaign was organized. The New York Times went and they ran with this, okay? That filing, don't forget, December 20th. Then mysteriously, just 11 days later, she changes her mind. She has a change of heart when peer pressure mounts and the public isn't stupid and they go, wait a second, this is just a CRD complaint. If this is all happened to you, file this in court. And then she goes, okay, now we got to file it in court to save our own PR. 11 days later, she mysteriously drops them as a defendant. So what happened? This is the lawsuit that she filed in New York 11 days later. And now all of a sudden you don't see Jed. Okay, it was a pretty strong allegation you made about Jed in the CRD complaint. What happened in 11 days? What happened that you suddenly said Jed no more? Well, Jed thinks he knows what happened. She was on some BS. That's what happened. It was PR, absent any facts, because she wasn't planning on filing that lawsuit. So he's suing her for defamation because most people, and I count myself amongst most people, didn't realize that she had suddenly dropped his name. And the name of his company, therefore, got dragged through the mud when everything exploded because journalists are lazy and they tend to just plagiarize. So everyone kept saying that this guy was a defendant. Everyone kept going back to this CRD complaint, making things very complicated. And he is saying, guess what? That hurt my business. That absolutely hurt my business. You defamed me because you never wanted this complaint and to do anything beyond this complaint. And you made all of these allegations knowing that there was nothing that you had no proof. That's why when it came down to filing it in court, you dropped me because you had absolutely no proof of the allegations that you made. And in a courtroom, it doesn't work like that. You don't get to just write fuzzy things on a piece of paper. You don't get to just draw hearts and say, maybe he's a bad guy too. Maybe he's bad and she's bad too. You're going to have to prove evidence. And so you dropped me, and now I am suing you for defamation. So yeah, if I'm a person looking at that and I'm thinking what happened in 11 days, it looks suspect. If I'm a jury, and I should be on the jury for this case, I don't see how I couldn't be on the jury for this case, but I'm apparently probably not going to be put as a jurist on this case. I would say that he has a very strong case against her. So we will see what happens with that. Now, in response to this, of course, Lively's team is their strategy is just keep crying, just keep saying you're a victim. It's the worst strategy ever. Again, going back to why I would drop Leslie Sloan. They said, quote, another day, another state, another 9-figure lawsuit seeking to sue Ms. Lively into oblivion for speaking out against sexual harassment and retaliation. This is not just a publicity stunt. It is a transparent retaliation in response to allegations contained within a sexual harassment and retaliation complaint that Ms. Lively filed with the California Civil Rights Department. While this lawsuit will be dismissed, we are pleased that Mr. Wallace has finally emerged from the shadows and that he too will be held accountable in federal court. Again, that relies on the public being really stupid. That relies like that he's retaliating against me. No, you failed to put him as a defendant, to list him as a defendant in your big lawsuit. And there's a reason for that. You named him without any evidence. Okay, so I'm not buying that. And of course, Wallace's team then fired back. He says, quote, as Lively later admitted, his lawyer rather says this, as Lively later admitted, she knew of no facts to support the allegations. Neither Wallace nor Street had anything to do with the alleged sexual harassment, retaliation, failure to investigate, or aiding and abetting the alleged harassment or alleged retaliation. Neither could they have breached a contract with Lively because no such contract exists. So that, my friends, is definitely heating up for her. I do also want to say this regarding Ryan Reynolds. I have some thoughts, maybe some weird thoughts. I think secretly, now that I know his character, like his real, not the character, the real Ryan Reynolds, and like the narcissist that I think he is and the amount of narcissistic abuse he engaged in when it came to Justin Baldoni, I think while he is coming apart at his public persona going down the drain, He also probably thinks he did nothing wrong because they are usually unable, narcissists, to ever see that they have done anything wrong at all. And they just keep going, who else is the next person I can blame for my own failures? I bet he is, though, enjoying this in terms of his relationship with Blake Lively because she's isolated. And he just strikes me as someone who's like, it's me and you now, babe, against the world. They're doing this to us. We did nothing wrong. Like, he's leading her, driving her further into narcissism. Like we did nothing wrong. There must have been some plot engaged, involved. I just get the feeling that he will enjoy having isolated her because it allows him to further sort of groom her into this idea that she is the ultimate victim in this. I think he's the one that pushed this from the very beginning, like I've said. And obviously, we're going to find out more will come out about this entire situation. Anyways, you guys, I am going to now tell you about American financing. Because I know there are a lot of Americans that are carrying high credit card balances that charge 20% or more each and every month. It is now time to take control of your debt. If you are a homeowner and you have been waiting to figure out how to get your finances in order, you need to call my friends at American Financing today. American Financing salary-based mortgage consultants are helping homeowners just like you tap into their home's equity to get out of high interest debt. They're saving their average customer $800 a month by doing this. Saving that kind of money every month should make the decision really easy. All it takes is a 10-minute, no cost, no obligation phone call to find out how much you could be saving. And if you start today, you may be able to delay 2 mortgage payments. So call American Financing at 800-795-1210. Again, the number is 800-795-1210, or you can visit americanfinancing.net/Owens. That's americanfinancing.net/Owens. Okay, I wanted to show you this TikTok. Comedian Whitney Cummings, she was under fire recently for being funny. Sometimes in a very sensitive culture, you're not allowed to be funny. And she posted this on her TikTok about how the left and right are coming together on this Baldoni thing. Take a listen.
Did not see this coming. I did not think that Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds would be the people that united this country, and it has happened. The most liberal people I know are now obsessively following Candace Owens for her take in journalism on the situation. Thank you, Ryan and Blake, for having such terrible personalities that we are now united as a country. Also, yes, I have followed this story so closely that I'm just wearing beanies now. Like, I am fully in the Lily Bloom simulation. I don't even know where this came from. Like, I don't even think this is mine.
I'm going to meet up with her and I'm going to have kombucha for my cousin Justin. And then it's just going to be the ultimate crossover event, the left and right coming together. And I thought about this. I think under her post, she had written something like, essentially, Blake and Ryan are patriots. And we can laugh at that, but I actually what they did was a tremendous service in terms of bringing the left and the right together. Because one of the things that we now notice coming out of this is that there's nothing sincere in politics or media, right? It's all name calling, and it really comes down to who is more powerful and more connected enough to get the names, the ad hominem attacks to stick. And that's what we're learning from the Justin Baldoni lawsuit is like they almost did it. They almost made him, in the minds of all Americans, a rapist because they had power. They had more dragons. And that is what has stunned us. And I think it opens the conversation in terms of us allowing to maybe look at each other differently and go, whoa, well, maybe when people told me that Candace was a self-hating Black person and a misogynist and internalized misogynist and a racist and a sexist and a chauvinist and an anti-Semite, maybe somebody more powerful just wanted to say that about her, so I would hate her, right? We're all starting to see each other through a different lens. And I thought this so perfectly encapsulated it, how nothing is sincere. So there is this really fat Malaysian guy on X. I don't know why Elon Musk tweets him all the time. Like, we are very much believers that this person is somehow blackmailed by a foreign state. And he just targets people and he smears them with ad hominem attacks, and you're going to die. All of my coverage that you have watched about Justin Baldoni, this is what Ian Miles Chong chose to tweet at me when I just explained why so many people feel invested in this story. He wrote this. I'm not kidding. It should be obvious to anyone that you're just attacking Lively and Reynolds because they donated money to the victims of October 7th. You hate the Jews, and your interest in this case is nothing more than an extension of your hatred of Jews. Literally what? Like, what on earth is he talking about? Just so we're clear, Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, it turns out, because I wasn't aware, because nobody cared about their donations when we got involved in this case, donated to both Israel and Gaza. So he's just wrong here on the facts. $1 million to support children in Israel and in Gaza. So it didn't matter what side anybody was on. Secondly, Justin Baldoni is Ashkenazi Jew. He is half Ashkenazi Jew. Steve Sarowitz, I think, is 100% fully Ashkenazi Jew, and I have been defending them and their PR team, their Jews. Like, I am just going, like, I basically should be winning, if we're doing it down to race, I should be winning an award right now for trying to preserve a company, a Jewish company, against non-Jews. Blake Lively was raised, I think, Baptist, and she's obviously has no faith other than anything but herself right now. And Ryan Reynolds also in the Church of Narcissism, but he was raised the same thing that I am, Catholic, believe it or not. He was raised in Canada and he's Catholic. So it just shows you that, like, usually that person coordinates with people and helps to get articles written about people, how insincere it is, how insincere these smears are. Like, you're calling me an anti-Semite for defending Justin Baldoni is maybe the craziest take on the situation I've ever seen. And it made me really question this moment that we're in, where we're all recognizing that. And people were asking me about my take on the Gaza situation because Trump recently came out, and I'm going to show you what he said. But leading up to this moment, I hope now people can reflect on really everything that happened last year to me, and people that I've written, like, Candace, I love your content. Like, I'm just so sad that, like, I found out that you hate Jews. And I'm like, guys, it's not true. It's completely crazy. I lived in New York. I was born in New York. You cannot hate Jews and be in New York City. You will never get a bagel. Okay. It's just not real. But there was this vicious attack on me because I said things in support of the Gazan children that were being mercilessly murdered, and it was on my screen, and I didn't want to stand down to that to preserve my media reputation. Like, I was happy to be smeared and libeled to be able to stand up for children, and it's almost distinctly because of my everything I learned about the Holocaust in school that I could never stay silent about what I was seeing happening to these women and these children. Like, it is directly because of the lessons that I took away and the lessons that were impressed upon me in my schooling that my silence just couldn't be bought on the matter. So anyways, a huge debate right now, obviously, is Trump really shocking the world and saying that the USA is just going to take over the Gaza Strip. So he hosted Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel, which I would have never done if I was president of the United States because of the things that he has done. The irony, by the way, is all of the super powerful Jews in Hollywood have spoken out against Benjamin Netanyahu, like Ari Emanuel, arguably the most powerful Jew in Hollywood, and agreed with what I said. But I guess he was allowed to say it. But here's what Trump said, and I'll tell you what I think about it. Take a listen.
Would Palestinians have the right to return to Gaza if they left while the rebuilding was happening?
It would be my hope that we could do something really nice, really good, where they wouldn't want to return. Why would they want to return? The place has been hell. It's been one of the meanest, toughest places on earth. And right now, I've seen every picture from every angle, better than if I were there. And nobody can live there. You can't live there. So if we can build them through massive amounts of money supplied by other people, very rich nations, and they're willing to supply it. If we can build something for them in one of the countries, and it could be Jordan, and it could be Egypt, it could be other countries, and you could build 4 or 5 or 6 areas. It doesn't have to be one area, but you take certain areas and you build really good quality housing, like a beautiful town, like someplace where they can live and not die. Because Gaza is a guarantee that they're going to end up dying. The same thing's going to happen again. It's happened over and over again, and it's going to happen again as sure as you're standing there, Peter. So I hope that we could do something where they wouldn't want to go back. Who would want to go back? They've experienced nothing but death and destruction.
And here's what he said following that up. Short clip.
The only reason the Palestinians want to go back to Gaza is they have no alternative. It's right now a demolition site. This is just a demolition site. Virtually every building is down. They're living under fallen concrete that's very dangerous and very precarious. They instead can occupy all of a beautiful area with homes and safety, and they can live out their lives in peace and harmony instead of having to go back and do it again. The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it, too. We'll own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site, level the site and get rid of the destroyed buildings, level it out, create an economic development that will supply unlimited numbers of jobs and housing for the people of the area. Do a real job, do something different. Just can't go back. If you go back, it's going to end up the same way it has for 100 years.
So here's why I love that clip. I love these two clips because we have at long last arrived to the period where after a year of gaslighting us and telling us that wasn't happening, like everyone just smearing us in the media, because obviously the media, as we've learned through the Justin Baldoni case to this, is just a place where it's prostitution, right? It's like the highest bidder, right? And after a year of them calling everybody anti-Semitic who noticed that an ethnic cleansing was taking place, we're just now getting to the point, which is an ethnic cleansing is going to take place. We're going to just move millions of bodies. And now we're going to try to emotionally engineer the public to think that it's acceptable by saying, well, there's nothing left. Our bombs bombed it all. Why would they want to go back there? There's nothing left, which we have on tape, Bibi Netanyahu saying that before October 7th, him caught on tape saying we have to make the punishment so severe and so harsh that the Palestinians won't want to go back because there's nothing there. He said this, okay? I showed it on my show and I didn't care about the figurative bullets that were coming my way because those bullets were figurative and they weren't real. And what I saw in terms of the kids being target practiced on in Gaza made me sick to my stomach. And so one of the other favored lies about me in the media is that I agree with everything Trump says and he does. And I could not disagree more with this. I could not have been more vocal in my lack of support for any person who, whether left or right, who claims to be a good and a compassionate person who is okay with what is happening and what they are saying they're going to do. All statements which are on record before October 7th even happened. And in terms of Trump talking about the real estate of the property, saying they have to go, and Jared Kushner was on tape speaking about how much worth the property could be. And so for those of us who said, are there people who have already invested in this property and want to see it being built up because they are going to make a ton of money because the plan is to move these people from their homeland somewhere else? And we were called conspiracy theorists, and we were called Jew haters, and we were called anti-Semites. This is truly a moment of vindication, okay? It is a moment of vindication, and I do not agree with it at all. Not at all. And now they're saying that the UK should take these people. And this just puts us on that circle. You know, it really is just, it's loony. You have the people in the UK and other countries going, I don't recognize my country. Why don't I recognize my country? Why is this country becoming majority Muslim population? And they don't want to connect the dots and say, well, you know, which country is not becoming majority population, just seems to be expanding its borders all the time? Israel. And we keep fighting their wars or funding their wars. We haven't stopped doing that. So as they become more ethnocentric, as they keep getting more land, as they keep having strict rules about who is allowed to commute there, our countries are looking very different. Why would they want to stay home? Because they recognize where they are. So if you're going to build it big and you're make it beautiful, Trump, let them stay there while you do it. I'm sure they would be very happy to do that. And for those of you who can't even imagine, just take a second to pause and think about the fact that for 2 years, these people have been walking on foot, children crying. Find it. It's online. Go look at it. Bleeding, kids being shot in the head. Okay, they're saying 20,000. We know it's now more because of the number that they're giving us in terms of saying how many people have to be moved. It's simple math of how many people are dead there, how many women, majority women and children are dead in this area. So you imagine you go back and forth. Finally, it is over. And you are now being told that, well, you are going to be really happy because we're going to put you in a country where nobody speaks your language, no one understands you. And you're just going to, I don't know, be in the UK, be in Ireland. Isn't that a better plan? Won't you be happier there than in the rubble of the place of your ancestors? Isn't that better for you? It's evil. If the theme of what we have been talking about are perfect acts of evil, what has happened to the children and the women of Palestine who had nothing to do with October 7th is a perfect act of evil. And I will not support it. I don't care which friendships have to burn, which invites I won't get, okay? I will not support it because I am a Christian and I am not one that can be maneuvered by money. And I hope that for those of you who are new to my channel, you recognize that that was the ultimate takeaway from everything that was written about me last year, is that I will never bend the knee to evil, whether it comes in a lighter form of Hollywood, being a Hollywood reject and not ever having friends like Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, or if it comes in the form of what I believe is happening right now. It's just not something that is for me. And so that is all I'm going to say on that topic. All right, guys, it's time to get into your comments, right? Are we at comment time? We are 44 minutes in. And first, I'm going to tell you about 7 Weeks Coffee, because so many of you guys drink coffee, so you might as well drink coffee and do good. And 7 Weeks Coffee allows you the opportunity to do that. It is America's pro-life company that's on a mission to fund the pro-life movement, one cup of coffee at a time. If you're wondering why they are called 7 Weeks Coffee, it's because at 7 weeks, a baby is the size of a coffee bean, and it's the same time that a heartbeat is clearly detected on an ultrasound. So they donate 10% of every sale to support pregnancy care centers across the country, and they have thus far raised over $750,000 for these centers, and they've therefore saved thousands of lives. And I can tell you the coffee is great because I'm picky about what I drink. It is mold-free, pesticide-free, shade-grown, low acid, and it is organically farmed. It truly does check all the boxes. And right now, if you subscribe to 7 Weeks Coffee, you'll get a free 2-pack of their new travel bags to take your coffee wherever life takes you. Whether you're traveling, working, adventuring, you can easily enjoy a rich, flavorful cup of coffee by adding hot water and letting the to-go bag steep for a few minutes. So go to 7weekscoffee.com and save 15% forever when you subscribe. Plus, exclusively for my listeners, if you use code Candace at checkout, you'll get an extra 10% off your first order. That's 25% total savings on your first order. 7weekscoffee.com. Use code Candace today. Alrighty, what questions do you guys have for me or comments? KKB writes, I'm a member of your website and can't wait for the book club. I'm so excited about the book club, you guys. You are the reason I've come from the left to the conservative right after really deeply analyzing how I actually live my life versus what I thought my ideals were. Thank you for everything. I think everybody's kind of moving and becoming more moderate, which is exciting. I do think that we are starting to look at the entities that have made us all hate each other. And they are the ones that are problematic, and they are the ones that are extreme. And we are finding ourselves that we have a lot more in common than we think. Evie Nova writes, do a collab with Be Better Guy from TikTok. People have been tagging me in his video. He has an insider source and does amazing reports. B&R took down his video. Interesting. Okay, apparently he has been talking about the Blake and Ryan case on TikTok, and I have to look into how his video got taken down. Very interesting. Ethan writes, the Taylor Swift industrial complex needs to be studied and exposed. I want to hear from her fans. Email me, info@CandaceOwens.com. Are you thinking she's truly the victim in the story, or are you thinking she's trying to get out of the story? I would like to understand your perspectives on her. Maria writes, real Catholics support Palestinians. Only thing I disagree with Trump on. Yeah, it's not even about Catholics. Real people who follow the Torah, Jewish people who follow the Torah support this and understand that we cannot justify an ethnic cleansing. We just cannot do that ever, 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 ever in the modern world. Joe writes, thank you, Candace. You or Thomas Massey become the POTUS. I think this might have been a typo carryover. At the end of times will be good versus evil, and the good will mostly include Muslims and Christians united. Peace be upon whoever seeks guidance. I do think that's another thing, is that we're finding ourselves in all of these situations, whether cultural or political, is that it's people that are just willing to speak out against evil. It is. It's actually good versus evil. I don't care about your left, right labels, what it is. Are we willing to team up and to fight evil together? And I hope the answer to that is yes. Brian Schwartz writes, when will Hollywood sober up and have their employees not further shame them? Also, there should be protected areas in the Gaza Strip if the fighting won't stop. For sure, I think there's no reason why they can't stay there. They've already been there for 2 years going back and forth. So yeah, we can build things around them. It's possible. That's what happens when you see construction on the road. Yeah, things are being built around you, and these buildings go up overnight. Mike V writes, greetings from Bavaria. Hello, Mike V from Bavaria. And I cannot read this for some reason. The font is a bit too small. Anyways, you guys, I want to remind you all that the Candace Owens website is launched. It gives us a little bit more protection to talk about topics without having to be worried about censorship on YouTube, which we all face over the last few years. My Shot in the Dark series for moms and dads that are having kids. Even if you love vaccines and want to vax your children, I promise you're going to love the series. It is not offensive. It just makes you feel a little more confident speaking to the doctor about vaccines, because we really know nothing with our first child, and we feel very peer pressured by the pediatrician, and that is, to me, a hostile situation. You shouldn't feel like you're doing things for your children that could have lifelong implications under duress. So the Shot in the Dark series is near and dear to my heart, as is the entire Candace Owens website. You can join the book club for $9.99 a month. We're going to meet, talk about these crazy concepts, things that have completely exploded my brain, books that I have read, and I've been like, what is real? What is fake? What is going on right now? And if you guys are just there and you want to just donate to us to keep us independent, no matter what, we're staying independent. So I will either go out of business or I will be independent, because I don't want to feel pressure to say things or not say things. And I feel so free right now, and I feel so happy right now. But if you would like to support our independent work while it is still here, you can give a donation at CandaceOwens.com. And I have, by the way, I am dropping my second book tomorrow, so check my socials. I don't know if I'm going to drop it in the morning. It's going to be really great. I'm so excited for you guys to see, because it has been a very long process to get this book going, and I am self-publishing, so I will own everything. I don't have to kowtow, to these publishers. There's just so much great stuff in the work, and I really feel like this is a year for clarity. So I hope you guys are excited about that announcement, because I'm very excited about it. Anyways, we will return with the Becoming Brigitte series tomorrow, and I will see you guys then.